So, hello. Today we have Jason from the YouTube channel CryptoAnxiety. And so he did an interview with my dad, and he's been telling us a lot about how all the amazing things that you're doing. So, you can go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us about your
Thank you so much
passion.
thanks for having me on, guys. Yeah, my name's Jay. I have a YouTube channel called Crypto Anxiety. I also host a bunch of Twitter spaces on Twitter where we talk about NFTs and all sorts of fun stuff. So yeah, I've been doing it for quite a while. I've been in the crypto space since started getting into it in like 2014 and started really actively getting into it in 2015. And as a sort of fun hobby, I started creating a YouTube channel and creating content on crypto because I found that so much of what is on YouTube when it comes to crypto is just, it's a lot of hype. It's a lot of people that are not really looking to educate and teach people about what's going on and really dive into these like crazy speculative things that people are investing in. And so I try to be sort of open and honest. I tell people if I have a position in something, and I try to really dig into why this is a good project and look at their team and not just look at sort of the hype behind it. So yeah.
That's awesome. What first got you like interested in looking more into crypto back in 2014?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think that the thing that excited me about crypto was that you had this digital dollar, right? I saw it as a way that people could right away. I thought, okay, if you got people in countries that don't have physical wallets, that don't even they don't even have access to a bank, for them to be able to transact in a stable way where there's countries that suffer from horrible inflation, hyperinflation, and inflation's even affecting us now, like in the US and Canada. I mean, the inflation numbers came out today at 7%. We haven't seen inflation that high in 40 years. I thought it was an incredible opportunity for people to be able to transact to one another in sort of a fast, cheap way, across the world. And so that's what originally got me excited about crypto. And then, as time went on, you saw these incredible things evolve out of it. Things like, gaming and DeFi and NFTs and all these things that have sort of exploded over the last few years. And it's opened this incredible market that didn't exist, like 5, 6 years ago. If you mentioned the word NFT, like no one knew what that was, didn't even exist, or like decentralized finance. I mean, these are things that are all new terms. And I think that it really, really excited me to see this whole new, for me as someone like in their 30s, it was like seeing the next evolution of, it was like seeing the internet all over again. It was kind of like a new version of what the internet could be back in, in the 90s, when people were saying like, I don't know what this internet thing is. Some people are, is it going to take off? I thought, wow, this is the next opportunity. I think this is like our generation's version of like seeing, the next internet kind of.
Yeah, yeah. And so kind of what drew you into kind of taking your interest in crypto and creating content on YouTube? Like how did you find out about YouTube as a platform? Um,
Yeah,
mhm.
no, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I mean, and kind of just doing it and like creating really high quality content just while doing a whole bunch of other things as well.
Yeah, it's a good question. So, my wife thinks I'm insane because I have like, I'm in the real world, I don't wear a sweatshirt and a hat. I wear a suit, and I have businesses that I'm involved in, and I've had companies that I've sold. And so in the real world, I'm in a very, very different space. But in the sort of like online world, what I found, like I said earlier, I really try to research these projects. I mean, it's with so many crypto projects, there's not a heck of a lot behind them. I mean, these things launch every single day. There's a new project. So what I try to do is I really try to do as much homework on them as I possibly can. So I'll dig into their team. I'll look at their LinkedIn profiles. I'll see like, are these real people? Are they not real people? Look at their educations, and then dive into what they're building. And my whole thing is I wanted to make videos that people could really understand. So someone who doesn't sit on crypto Twitter all day or watch YouTube videos all day, that's not my audience. I want people that don't know a heck of a lot about crypto that can find out more, and for people who do know about crypto to maybe find out a little bit more than they about specific things they did. So I script basically all my videos. I write them out, I record them, I edit them, and I think that makes for an easier way to digest the content. You're not constantly stumbling. You see sometimes I watch these guys on YouTube, and some of them are great, but they're 45-minute videos going over a project, and they're just scrolling through a website, and they're basically learning about the project in real time with the people they're making the video for. They're reading like looking at the team and clicking on their links and stuff while they're recording the video. And to me, that just doesn't, I don't know. For me, I can't sit and watch a 45-minute video on a project. I want to watch something that's 10 minutes long that gives me like a good, idea of what's happening. And so that's kind of why I really wanted to teach people. So that's kind of what sparked my interest in being like, you know what? It was the middle of the pandemic. We were all home. I was working from home, and I thought this might be kind of fun. So every night my kids would go to sleep, I would come down to my office, which I've now converted into like this crazy looking studio. And, I started making videos, and I'd come up like 3 hours later. My wife would be like, "What the heck are you doing down there?" And I'm like, I'm making weird videos on crypto. And she thought I was insane. And then I started like showing off, like, I'd be like, look how this video got 1,000 views. And then I had a video that hit like 27,000 views, and I started getting subscribers, and now she still thinks it's silly, but maybe less silly as it grows.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think one thing is when you're researching these things within crypto, how do you go about trying to find like the best information? Because I mean, probably back in 2014, there wasn't all this kind of speculation and all of the hype that might give you misleading information. But when there's so much going around about crypto, where do you go? How do you find what's real and what's not?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, when I was buying Bitcoin back in the day, there was an exchange called Mount Gox, so MTGOX. And you guys may not have you ever heard of Magic the Gathering? It's like a card game where like it's their cards, they all have different abilities and stuff. So
Yeah.
Magic the Gathering it was huge back in the day. Like it was, people, even now it's still pretty big. So this exchange where you used to actually buy and trade Magic cards turned into a Bitcoin exchange. It was like the first Bitcoin exchange. And the reason it's called Mount Gox is it was Magic the Gathering online trading exchange. That's actually what it was. And they literally turned it from trading Magic cards into trading Bitcoin. So it was like a disaster back then. They got hacked, and it was chaos. So like you said, now it's really changed. Right now there's a ton of information. There's Twitter, there's so many, like there's thousands of websites where you can look at. So what I first do is I'm always on Twitter, and I take a look to see there's some like respected accounts that I like to follow. And if they're talking about something, I will start to sniff around. And I also, there's a ton of great newsletters that I read, as well as I have a lot of friends that are in the space. So if there's something that sparks my interest, I'll do sort of a high level look at it. So I'll start looking at like CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, and see like what are their market caps. I'll take a look at their chart and see what kind of, price action is going on now. If I like what they're about, so what they're trying to do, I'll then, I'll take obviously a look at their website and see, does the website look good? Is it just sort of a reused template that everyone uses? If they like spend some time and money on this thing, I look through it. I look at their team. If they do have a team, I don't love anonymous teams. I like teams that are real. I like to see real people. And then I'll click and I'll search them on LinkedIn, and I'll see like, where do these guys go to school? If they have this huge plan to take over the entire decentralized finance world, but they worked at Starbucks for the last 8 years, and they have no finance background at all. Not to say you can't do that, right? It's not a put down to people who do, but I want to see that they actually listen. Certain things you need to have like a background in, right? You have to know something about something you're going to go into. So I take a look at all the founders, I look at their advisors, and I look at their investors. So I think that, seeing who has backed some of these projects, I think is really, really important, because in the crypto space, VCs will throw their money really at everything, but some are definitely better at choosing winners than others. So I'll look into that, and then I'll read their white paper. And as boring as that sounds, you look through it and you sort of see, what are they trying to accomplish? I look at their tokenomics. Some people, they get really, really, really excited when they see that the price of something is like, half a penny. And they think to themselves, wow, I can buy like 10 billion of these for like, $1,000. And if it goes to $1, I'm going to be a trillionaire. But they don't look at the tokenomics, where if there's, 100 trillion tokens, it doesn't really matter. That's why it's so cheap, right? So that's why Bitcoin, there's only 21 million of them. Each Bitcoin is, $45,000. Not right now, unfortunately, but like say $43,000. That's why, right? You need to look at tokenomics. And then I really start diving into it and seeing, I start Googling, I start looking on Twitter, I start looking at the symbols, and then I start putting something together. If I like it, I'll figure it out if this is something that I would personally want to put my money into. And then I start researching further from there, and I start scripting, and then I record a video. That's basically the thing. And honestly, I look at so many different projects, and I would say that out of 10, I might do a video on one, because honestly, there's a lot of just crappy projects out there, to be completely honest. So
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think that is really important if you're gonna just provide really high quality content to people. But one question I have is, like, there are a lot of possibilities when you look at this technology. Just and when you think about like decentralized finance and thinking about like how this could actually potentially really help people in countries where there's inflation issues, like what do you see as like the biggest problems that decentralized currencies could potentially solve, or just projects working with crypto?
yeah, so I think that, like we talked about before, so I think that there's take something like Reserve Token, RSR, which has been around for quite a while, and they have some really impressive people involved with it. I think Peter Thiel, who's one of the co-founders of PayPal, is involved, and they have like a really, really impressive team. The token hasn't done a heck of a lot lately. It kind of like it crashed pretty hard over the last little while, but their main thing is that they have this one token, which is just a stable coin. So it's pegged at $1, and it's getting incredible traction in countries like Venezuela that have experienced hyperinflation, right? And so people are using, I think it was actually the number one app downloaded, I believe, in Venezuela last year or something like that. So it's really being used. Seeing that, I think, is what excites me the most about like decentralized finance. The scary thing with decentralized finance, now we're having this conversation on my spaces on Sunday, and we always get some really, really amazing people that come in. We get like, well-known people in the crypto space. We get some like random celebrities that are in NFTs and crypto that pop in. It's kind of bizarre, but we were having this debate, how people were saying, what scares them about crypto and what upsets them, especially people that are newer to crypto and they don't really get what crypto can do. They just sort of like, they see it as this kind of cool new hype thing.
Mm.
They worry that, some of them have have had hacks done. So they've lost their funds, right? So they've, however they got compromised, and now they've lost the funds that are in their wallet. And they're like, oh, I'm going to sue MetaMask. I'm going to sue, Phantom Wallet. I'm going to sue whoever the wallet holder is. What they don't understand is that there's no one to go after. You see, people are so used to Visa and American Express and MasterCard, where if someone steals your credit card number and buys an iPhone on it, you can call Amex and say, I didn't buy that iPhone. And they can stop it. They will refund you the money back. And hopefully that guy gets caught. Now he's got his phone, whatever, right? The difference is you are your own, you control it, right? You're your own bank, you're your own credit card processing provider, like you're your own security. And so what scares people is, hey, listen, if you have a significant amount of money, and that could be $100 for someone, it could be $100 million for someone. It's scary to think that you are your last line of defense, right? So if you wrote down if you in your notes, you put all your seed phrases and your passwords, and your phone gets compromised, well, some hacker can just log into your MetaMask and send all the funds to you, and there's no one to call. And that's what scares people. And so a lot of people are like, oh, these people should be held accountable. Well, that defeats the purpose of DeFi, right? Defeats the purpose of crypto. Because in countries like, let's say in China, or in some of these countries that have had, where their governments are, run by dictators, they can literally just take money out of your bank account. Like we've seen it happen lots of times where governments just steal your money. And in places like China, where they monitor everything that you do, it scares countries like that. It's why crypto scares countries like China, because they want to keep an eye on what everybody's doing. And this allows people to do it to protect themselves. And so I think the beauty and of DeFi is that you control your destiny and you can do what you want to do with your funds, and no one's there to tell you, oh, you can't buy that, or that's more, with Visa, you can't go and buy something that's really, really expensive. Sometimes they'll flag you if you buy something for $20,000. They'll call you and say, oh, we think your card's been hacked. You can't do that. No one can tell you that with crypto. You're allowed to do it, but there's no customer service line if your funds get lost, right? And so I think there's a huge opportunity in the market for things like insurance. I think like Coinbase and a few other places, they do insure the funds. So if there's ever a hack on, if you keep your funds on places like Coinbase, they will insure it. So they do have those type of policies in place. And I think that's where retail investors, people that don't know a heck of a lot about crypto, those are probably the safest places to be somewhere that you feel comfortable doing. For people that are more advanced, if you really get the whole security part, I think that's where DeFi and everything else is really, really sort of attractive.
Yeah, I think people like to call. They can have a manager to call and just say, "You gotta fix whatever happened." Yeah.
Everyone wants a customer service line, right?
Yeah. So, as we are on the Innovator series, do you see
Yeah.
yourself as an innovator, and if so, why?
Um, I don't know if I would call myself an innovator. I think that what I maybe what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to change. I think that I'm trying to change the way that people look at. I would never call myself an influencer because I hate that. I think that it'd be really nice to change the way that people look at a lot of what crypto, and sort of as soon as you say like, oh, I make videos on crypto, to people that are kind of in the crypto world, a lot of people roll their eyes because, so much of it is just people like, hyping anything. There's a lot of guys that will get paid to sort of promote anything. And I don't do that. It's just not, that's not what I'm looking to do. I'm fortunate enough that I don't need to make money that way. So I'd rather just sort of keep things like honest and transparent. And so if I can keep pushing that narrative, maybe that's the way I can sort of innovate, is make content that's sort of hopefully enjoyable to watch, but also is a lot more transparent and, honest when it comes to this space. And I think that when you're in this wild west of crypto, which every single day, like I said, there's a new token that launches and things are, pumping to the moon, and you really have to be careful with who you listen to, because, you see guys on Twitter and they'll talk about something that they don't disclose that they were invested in really, really, really early. And they're like, oh, this is going to be the craziest new project. And then it's come out, that they told all their followers, like, this thing looks amazing. And then they get caught dumping, all the tokens they had when it ran super high because all their followers bought it. And they were basically just using their followers as, exit liquidity. That doesn't really sit that well with me. It bothers me. It's why in all my videos I always say like, hey, full disclosure, I have a position in this. Like, my positions aren't, it's, it's not like I can control a market. I take small positions and everything. I always tell everybody, only invest what you're willing to lose. And, I make these videos, I always say at the beginning, it's not financial advice. They're just for fun, for entertainment, for educational purposes. But for me personally, I only invest what I'm willing to lose. And that's how I play crypto. It's not worth, it's a great place to potentially hopefully make unbelievable sums of money. But you also have to know that, just like in 2017, 2018, things that you loved, that you thought were going to go to $100,000 go down 99%. Right. So, yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
What's your definition of innovator, of being an innovator?
So someone that changes, someone that can hopefully change something to bring something, take, you look at people like Steve Jobs, those guys they're Elon Musk. I mean, they're innovators. They look at a technology and they say, how can we make it better, right? How can we change this and do things differently? And I try to do that I also like the term disruptor. I think disruptor is like an important term, and I've always liked to disrupt things. So I would say that I'm more of a disruptor than an innovator, but I think they're also very, very similar in a lot of ways. So.
Yeah. What would be like your advice to someone who is kind of a beginner and they're just going into the crypto space and they don't want to like lose all of their money? I don't know if anybody does. But like what are the most dangerous pitfalls that they should be out looking out for?
Yeah, it's a great question. So like I always said, I'm not a financial advisor, so obviously anything I say is just, just for fun. But, I would say that the first place to always look is try to understand what crypto is and what it can do for a lot of different things, right? So if you're just looking at crypto as a speculative, asset class that can make crazy swings on a daily basis, well, that's one way of looking at it. If you just want exposure to say, hey, I've got crypto, I mean, there's so many different things you can do. Create a Coinbase account, you can throw a little bit of money into Bitcoin, Ethereum. Solana is a great project that I really, really like. But basically the big ones that are doing stuff to change, and I think that are going to be around for a long time, have a little bit of exposure to that. And I think that that's probably the best thing to do, just to say, hey, I have some crypto. Is Bitcoin going to 100x? No, it's not going to 100x. Could it 2x or 3x over the next few years? It absolutely could. It just as easily though could, go down by 70%. And we've seen it happen. Like in 2017, when the last sort of Bitcoin bull cycle was going on, we saw this run up to, $17,000. And then it pulled back to like, I think we were down in the low $3,000 range, right? That's a serious correction. Ethereum was, which your dad loves, and he called at like $10, which is insane. He's like, your dad's one of the smartest guys around. That's a whole other topic. But Ethereum, went from say $10 to 1,500 and then pulled back to $78. So you can imagine for people who are like, wow, I really can't I can't. I remember my dad called me on the phone and he said, I want to buy some Ethereum. It was at like $800. And that was a lot. I was like all-time highs back then. And I said, okay, but just know it's pretty expensive right now. Like it was just like $30 a few months ago. And he bought it. He almost bought the top, and it went down to like $78. And he said, like, what the hell happened? Like he said, this Ethereum was good. I said, listen, just hold on to it. It's going to come back. Don't worry. And at that time, I mean, that's a pretty significant loss. And then it goes up to $4,600. So that's like the crazy thing with crypto, is that you get these unbelievable moves. And so you never know where the top or the bottom is. But I would say that, just start learning about what crypto can do. Learn about the history of it. There's some great documentaries on Netflix that really aren't that boring. As to some people, they'd be like, what? Like if I said to my wife, if you want to watch like a Bitcoin documentary, I think she'd divorce me. But for some people, if you wanted, there's some really good ones out there, and you can learn about like sort of the how and why it's so great. But that's where I would first start. I'd look at all the grandfather coins, not look at Bitcoin, look at Ethereum, dig into why they're great, and then sort of go from there.
Yeah, that's really great advice. So would you have any advice for like maybe a young person within our learning community who's interested in like starting a YouTube channel, maybe on crypto or maybe just on anything else that they're interested in? What would be your advice to them?
Yeah, find something that you absolutely love. I mean, it's if especially in the beginning, it is like a job. Like it's not, if you don't like to sit down and edit videos, or you don't like to script something or talk about a topic that bother all your friends about, and you talk to your family members about, and they're like, okay, I don't want to talk about that. Like, enough. If that's where you're at with something, then absolutely that's the topic you want to talk about, right? Like it is the most important. So like I have stepkids as well as my own kids, and they are obsessed with Harry Potter, like obsessed with Harry Potter. And Roblox and Fortnite, those are like their three big things. And so I tell them, like, if you're going to make content on anything on YouTube, make it about that stuff, because you guys can talk about that all day. So find a topic that you love, that you're hopefully not going to get bored of after 6 months of making it, and try to find a topic that you think is going to be around for a while. So, gaming is a phenomenal space. It's not going anywhere. Find a topic that you love. That would be my main thing, is like, find a topic that you love, that you are okay spending a ton of time at, and then, get out there and start talking to people, right? Like reach out to people that that you respect. It's incredible how many people are pretty open to talking about stuff that they love. So, go on Twitter, go on YouTube, and try to reach out. And like, if there's someone you really like, listen, the big guys are going to be really, really hard to reach, but look for sort of micro level influencers, people that have 10,000 followers on Twitter or on YouTube. Those guys are really, really easy to access. That you message them on Twitter, they 99% of the time they will get back to you. The guys with 1 million followers are probably not. But that's sort of the advice I would give to anyone who's looking to start getting into the weird world of YouTube. And I'm still learning every single day. Like, I'm far from a huge YouTuber. I have 5,000 subscribers in like the last, 7-8 months, which is unbelievable growth for a YouTube channel, like for what my industry is. But, it takes a lot of time, for sure. It takes time, and you really do have to love it.
Yeah, yeah. So, what is a belief or point of view you hold that is not shared by most other people?
Oof, that's a good question. I can hear, if you can hear screaming in the background, I apologize. What is a belief that I hold that a lot of other people don't hold? That's a tough question. I don't know, that you guys throw me for that one. I think that I have to think about that one. Let me think about that one, and I'll
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's a tough one. You guys threw me a hard question there. Yeah, I think that, well, okay, so I genuinely think that okay, so we'll stick on the sort of the crypto topic for a second, and then we'll talk, and then we'll roll into a couple of different things, I believe. So I think that you'll see in the next few years a digital dollar. I think that I think that a lot of people don't think that's the case, but I genuinely think that we are moving to a digital form of currency regardless. And that's not really just talking about crypto. Like, I don't think people are going to be transacting in Dogecoin or Bitcoin or Ethereum. I think those will still exist, but I think instead of having, change and cash, it's going to go all digital. And the reason why I've always been surprised that governments haven't been more excited and want to move on it a lot faster. So now the US is talking about a digital dollar. The UK has been talking about, like, a lot of places are talking about having a digital dollar. The reason why I'm surprised it's taken them so long is because governments, how do governments make their money? On taxes, right? If people are transacting in cash, which is still like that sort of underground thing, or you sort of ask your plumber, hey, is there any, if I pay cash, it's always like very, like, everyone always like whispers. I don't know why people whisper when they ask if they'll take cash, but people do, to save a few money on, like, so that people can hide their money and not pay tax on it. Well, for a government, since they want to make sure every single dollar you spend, they collect their money on. What better way than making sure that everyone transacts digitally? They can watch every single transaction and make sure that you are paying your fair share of taxes on every single thing. It's horrible for people, because if you get away with cash, well, now we have no way that, now the government knows that everything that we do. But again, I think governments, most of them like doing that. So I'm surprised. So I do think we'll see like a digital dollar. And then, with what you guys are doing, I think that education is going to change significantly. I think it needs to change, because, I look at what kids are learning these days, and so much of it is the same stuff that I learned when I was a kid. And that was a long time ago. And I think that, we really need to evolve and teach kids about, they should learn how to program in every single school. Like, I think that learning certain languages these days is almost silly. Like, when you see the level, it's great to learn other languages, but when you see things like the level of how incredible translations apps are right now, you can basically have like an ongoing conversation with someone just using like a native, the Translate app within Apple. And there's so many of them out there. But learning how to program, I think, is like huge. I think learning about finance is such an important thing. I remember when I graduated from high school, and I took a year off before I went to university. I remember not knowing really, like, no one taught me about credit. They didn't teach me about, loans and interest rates. I had to learn about all that stuff on my own. In university, I when you're taking economics and stuff, you learn about that. But you don't get any life skills like mortgages. And I think that there needs to be an emphasis on teaching that early. And you see a lot of kids that, they get credit cards when they're 16, 17, 18 years old. They run up debt. They don't really understand how it works, and it screws their credit. And credit is such an important thing. So learning and teaching about how, how finance works, but also making it fun. Like having classes in the metaverse, I think is something that's going to eventually happen, where kids can, you can learn, but also, at the end of class, you can all like run around and like shoot each other in like Roblox, or like start building something together, or like, destroy the classroom in the metaverse, like something just to make it fun. Right. And I think that if you had teachers that engaged in that type of learning style, I think kids would really, really like it. I know with e-learning right now, or with online learning, so many kids, they turn their camera off and they're like playing Roblox or Fortnite on their, like they're minimized and they're just playing Fortnite, right? What if you could make it where people were able to do stuff within Fortnite so it's actually fun, right? I think that that's like, why make school something that's so awful? Why not feed into what kids like to do? I've been a huge gamer forever, and the thought of doing like classes in Roblox, having like meeting a teacher in there or learning how to code within that environment, I think is just super, super exciting. So
Yeah, funny story relating to that is when Aila and I were doing we went to school virtually for like the first few months of the pandemic before we started homeschooling, and there was just someone who accidentally unmuted. We could hear in the background like a Minecraft video of some guy saying like, so now we're gonna dig for gold, and and so yeah, I mean, it's just like, and I knew that for us sometimes if we like weren't really learning anything, like it was snowing outside and they didn't take school off, and then my dad was just like, you guys can just go play in the snow.
100%.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so I think unless you want to cover anything else, the last question we can end on is, how can people get a hold of you if they're interested in what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys again. Thank you so much for having me on. So you can follow me on, you can subscribe to the channel, which would be great, on YouTube. It's CryptoAnxiety. The reason for the name is just because crypto causes a lot of people anxiety, including myself, when markets are crazy, both good and bad. You can also follow me on Twitter at crypto_anxiety. So those are the best places to find me. And if you want to reach out and say hi, I'm always happy to talk to anybody. So yeah, that would be those are the best ways to reach me for sure.
Awesome, and I'll link both of those in the description. But
Awesome.
yeah, so thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me. I love what you guys are doing. It's awesome. And you have like some of the nicest parents around, and your dad is both your parents are like some of the smartest people I've ever had the pleasure of chatting with. So yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate having me on today.
You take care.
Thanks guys.
Bye.
Bye.